Well, just back from a couple of awesome days riding up here in the Central Tablelands, just west of the Blue Mountains. Hooked up with Jared Duffy, my partner at Transmoto, and Geoff Ballard. Had an opportunity to come out and test the 2021 beta. Well, several beta models, but wanted to focus our attention on this 200. The 200 now, two-stroke that is the only 200 in its class. And for that reason, interestingly, only introduced to beta's lineup, I think in 2019. You know, got the big overhaul for 2020, few refinements this year, but you know, it still remains that only 200 in the class. And the thing is now third or fourth biggest seller for beta. So it's it's a pretty special machine. Geoff, I remember we rolled up a couple of days ago and wheeled the things out, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but it looks as the first thing that grabbed you about it.
I don't know if it'll show up on camera like it does when you're right next to it, but I don't know, what do we call it? A reddy, orangey day glow, yeah.
Well, I think you said
amazing.
the Troy Lee design.
Yeah, it's like an old Troy Lee Designs Honda.
Yeah. So let's get on to our riding. We had a great combination of stuff through fire trails, through snotty, really snotty forest, just some typical sort of all sorts of stuff, a little bit of grass track as well. Real mix of conditions. Jared, I'll go to you because you love this. You love two-strokes, mate. You're a die-hard fan.
Yeah.
What jumped out at you about this thing?
I love the playful nature of two-strokes, especially the small bore stuff. So like, I've got a 150 at home. I've had 200s in the past that I learnt to ride on. So the nostalgia factor comes back for me. They're so light. They're playful. You just moderate them with a clutch and put them where you want to go. And being this 200 like that, it's got enough bottom that you can chug up hills. You're not running out of breath on it. Yeah, you got to shift gears a lot more than you do on a 250 or a 300, but you just get that more nimble, playful character.
And I think you were saying yesterday, best of both worlds, just the fact that you've got the creature comforts now of an electric start and oil injection on this thing. So you don't have to, I think you got that's 650 mils of oil, so I think you've got about 5 tanks worth. So you can just keep up with your mates. You can take the thing trail riding. You ordinarily look at a 200 two-stroke and you're like, it's for fun, tight stuff, in a snotty, but not for maybe a longer ride with some mates.
Yeah, like we were riding around with a Beta Cross Trainer 300 and 390, and it wasn't on par with those bikes, but it was not sucking a heap more fuel by any means.
Yeah. Geoff, I found it was a bit of an acquired taste. I always want to jump off a 4-stroke and get on, particularly a small bore, being a little bit heavier than the average guy this is made for, and it takes me a while to get accustomed to it. Did you find the same, or what do you think of it?
Yeah, well, I would consider myself more of a 4-stroke guy. I think, especially if I'm racing, I prefer a 4-stroke. But saying that, I've fallen in love a bit with the cross trainer one. So for harder enduro, it's
300cc two-stroke.
300cc two-stroke, and that's an impressive bike. I really like it, and this was interesting to get a go of these couple of bikes. And at first I was like, I don't know about this thing, but then the more I rode it, the more I went, I kind of get it. And it's like a certain type of person likes the fact this thing's going to be light, and it's very alive when you get into it and gas it more and all that sort of stuff. But you can make this thing incredibly chugged down low, which is obviously when you're getting to the really technical hills, and it's like this thing will drag you up the hill if you can hang on to it. It's got that sort of really bottom end power that's pretty impressive, It's quite, I can see why people like it,
Suspension's always been a thing, the SAC suspension for 2020, when they went to the ZF, the up spec on top of the line SACs. We felt it was a lot better. I think all of us, when we tested the 2020s, a bit over 12 months ago, we sort of said, hey, it's 90% of the way there to perhaps the other open cartridge forks that it's up against. This year they've done a little bit of gusseting around the headset and the frame, fresh subframe, but I guess the big thing, they haven't actually explained what they've done exactly, with quite a few new internals in that ZF fork. These things were brand new. It was interesting, wasn't it? Because yesterday we're like, is it a bit better? Yeah, it's a bit better, but then did they run in today? Because they felt completely different.
Well, I mean, I didn't like it when I first jumped on it. The suspension felt something was a bit wrong, and I could not believe how much it changed as we put more and more Ks onto them. You know, so obviously it was pretty brand new and everything's a bit tight. Maybe it needed to settle in, but it was amazing how much both of the bikes changed, and yeah, my attitude towards it changed, and it's pretty bloody good.
Yeah.
I'm having it's not a bad thing at all. I changed my tune.
And I think you said, Jared, like, you know, this is a bike made for nimble, tight stuff. You said you felt like out on the fire trail, that fast stuff, you could go like this, put your hands above your head. The chassis has that really sort of stable nature.
Yeah.
But then I think we put a little bit of extra, it's kind of really handy having that external preload adjuster. I think you've got 10 turns and 10 mil.
Yep.
Two-stroke with I think it's a 4.2 fork versus a 4.8, so it's 3/8 difference between the 2 and the 4-stroke in the fork. So this thing seems to benefit, I think, when we wound up a little bit more preload.
Yeah, it's awesome having that for the price. Other bikes you can put them on, but they're quite exy.
Yeah.
So it's good. It didn't seem to dive under brakes all that horrendously, or it wasn't real wallowy. It still wasn't excellent under big hits where you gene the thing out. But apart from that, like when it's, like you said, when you're going down smooth stuff, or like just those initial small bump sensitivity was really good.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, my take is it's really got, as you say, that I think with the suspension bedded in a little bit.
Yeah.
I found some of those uphill rock gardens where the thing tends to be stepping out, particularly at 2-stroke, feels skittish in that loose rock stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it felt really good. And what surprised me is how it would just lug on an open, like keeping up with big boys on a you know, in open terrain. Took me a while to get used to it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Like almost like a couple of hours, not like a couple of laps. So, but once I did, and I found a lot smoother. I'm not on off the clutch like that. You could use the torque of the thing a lot better.
Yeah, it's like a very torquey, lively 125. You know, if you know what I mean. It feels more like that. You've got to be the rider who enjoys the nimbleness of a pretty light bike and is capable of keeping it in the power. If that's what if you're into going fast, then you got to work it a bit more. You know. If you know, enduro, a lot of enduro is riding in unfamiliar terrain, so it's not like you get to know you can really rail this corner. You come around and you go, oh, there's a log, or you know, so you're off the power, then back on, you go, oh, it's not there, you know. So I don't think it's a bike. I think I'm still a 4-stroke guy or whatever, but it surprised me. I learnt to, you know, adapt, and then I understood it more. I can see why it's a pretty good seller. You know, it's you can work it and go fast on it. It's light. It's it tracks through the bush nice, and it's fine on the open trail, on the open fire roads and stuff like that. It's not like you go, oh, it doesn't work here. It seems to work quite well everywhere, and yeah, it's impressive.
They're on point now. Beta is a brand, Italian company. But, you know, we were in the workshop last night after a couple of glasses of red and going through the refinements. But you know, just taking a few panels off, having a look at how they do things, what they manage. But the level of detail that's gone into some of of those little lugs under the seat. You know, the fact that the bash plate turns around here, the fact that you've got your dual switch there, so it's not clattering up the handlebars.
Yeah.
You know, just some really clever little. It's not like there's no shortcuts. It's like, oh, there's a bolt we've got here. We got a spare here. Let's use that. It really seems that
it's got that Italian styling.
Yeah,
it's they know how to do that sort of stuff well, and they've always been pretty good looking things. This year, to me, they've refined it really well. It's to me, they've done a great job of it, finishing it off properly, and it looks good, and everything fits well. The cover for the air filter comes off really nicely, and yeah, there's a lot of things. The button to pull the seat off, it's like, well, why doesn't everyone do that? It's pretty good, you know. Yeah. So yeah, they've done a good job styling, and I guess that's the Italian side of them.
And we should actually mention that the brush guards, they're not standard. I think the Pirelli Scorpion Mid-Soft XCs, they're not standard either. It comes with like a DOT tyre, or an FIM tyre. So that's the only thing that's not standard on the bike.
Yeah. Yep.
So let me play devil's advocate for a little bit here. So you know, it's $12,300 buys you one of these. You know, they're really big sellers. I think for Beta, the 300 or the Cross Train is the biggest, followed by the 300 Enduro, followed by the 390 4-stroke, followed by this. So you know, I think it's we said we'd love to know where the big tribes are buying the things.
Where the market goes.
Yeah. It's a similar sort of price to say a KTM 150 2-stroke with TPI, but its bigger brother, in a lot of ways to me, the biggest opposition this has is its 250 bigger brother. It's only another $300. I think it's $12,600. Other brands, typically you got a massive jump, and then you
Yeah.
know from there to 253, 300, it goes a massive sort of jump of $1,400 or so again. So that does it have the versatility of a 250? Like, are there benefits that has that the 250 two-stroke won't give you?
Yeah, it's definitely not as versatile. You can't be lazy on that like you can be on a 252 stroke.
Yeah.
252 stroke, you can got a bit more chuggability. You don't have to shift as often, but
Revs out a little bit more top.
revs out
Yeah.
a little bit. But this thing's not far behind it, and it's definitely no slouch.
But is it the agility that you know? It feels like a bloody mountain bike with an engine sometimes
Yeah.
through some of that tight stuff.
Yeah, I think it depends on the terrain you ride, and I guess people get to know what they ride mostly and the mates they ride with and all that sort of stuff. So if you were riding in tight stuff all the time and you really felt the weight of a bike and you're at that experience level or that age where you're just going, I just want a lighter bike, then obviously this is lighter than that, and you probably feel that on that sort of trail. So people want that sort of stuff. So it's lighter than the 250 and it's still got plenty of power. You know, some people aren't chasing more power all the time, and again, it depends where you ride. So
Yeah.
you can cruise along the roads fine, everything's fine. You can keep up with whoever, you know, just in because you realistically you don't ride flat out on the trails. You know, most people are just getting there to get into their type of stuff. So
Speaking of which, technical and two-stroke, and Dita's got another unique bike in the class in the cross trainer. I know when you came out with the camera today and rode on that a little bit of the time, you thought that was awesome. So, but a
Yeah.
different sort of flavour,
Different,
in a way,
but
different personality.
yeah,
Yeah.
more torque, 300 cc's, more torque, blah blah blah.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, we better grab a beer, have a kit, and
Yeah.
get out and do it all over again.
Yeah,
Yep.
sounds good.